Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today, wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this. XRP price faces a glass ceiling as every bank speaks Swift. What they're talking about in this article is Ripple replacing Swift. And I like what they said in this article. Even if the banks are slow to shift, the political climate in the U.S. is moving in Ripple's favor. Lawmakers have created clear rules for stablecoins and drawn lines against a government-issued digital dollar, leaving room for private issuers like Ripple to grow. Brad Garlinghouse has called the opportunity massive and says the U.S. is finally ready to modernize its payment rails. The road to overtaking Swift is long, but for the first time in years, Ripple can chase that ambition without a courtroom distraction hanging over its head. I think the Ripple vs. SEC case was holding Ripple back the most. No bank wants to talk to someone that's involved in a case with the SEC. Now that that is over, I think Ripple can push ahead very quick from here. And I think this is also a problem for Swift. Sanctions on Russia and the ripple effect for global South economies. They don't even talk about Ripple in this article at all, but they say the ripple effect. Maybe they did that on purpose. But those sanctions, these countries are tired of the sanctions. These countries are now developing their own payment systems so they could avoid the sanctions going forward. And that also plays in Ripple's favor. And then there's this coming from Smoke, visual of how XRP fits the purpose of an SDR. Being an international reserve asset that is not restricted by one jurisdiction and is exchangeable for every major currency. Every major currency is being digitized as CBDC. If the new financial system is made up of digital currencies, a digital currency like XRP fits the bill as a digital reserve asset or an ESDR. Description of how blockchain settlements can be implemented into an SDR in the last slide. So this is what an SDR looks like right now. And even the early mappings for XRP, it looked like an SDR already. If XRP was to be utilized as an ESDR, we are looking at a 4-digit XRP. And a lot of people would argue that the IMF owns Ripple. Other people think Ripple is the IMF. What I do know is this. We are going to see massive liquidity pools of XRP all around the world. This comes from Black Swan Capitalist. Citibank is leading the ISO 222 migration for Swift. Every bank will follow. This is the new standard for global payments. ISO fixes messaging, not settlement. That's the gap. XRP is the bridge that makes real-time value transfer possible. What does everybody want? They want real-time payments, instant gratification. You don't get that with Swift, and you're not going to get it without XRP. It all comes down to the back end, the settlement. And that's what XRP is built to do. That's also how XRP and RippleNet will eventually replace Swift. Everybody is all about real-time everything. That also gives Ripple an advantage. Huge signal for XRP. CFTC chair confirms banks are moving faster into crypto. Take a listen.
Prohibited banks from engaging in digital asset activities without getting a letter of non-objection from the bank regulators. The infamous SAB 121, which I think the SEC forgot that banks are public companies and that banks custody things. So, clearly getting that rescinded by acting chairman Uyeda on the second day, I think, in office was huge. So banks can do these activities. Of course, JP Morgan has been very active in the digital asset space, as has BNY, as has Citi and all the other banks. It's been quiet. Now I think you're going to be able to see them really accelerate. So all of these projects that everybody's been working on since 2016, now we're going to start seeing more deployment, more volume, and so on and so forth. And a lot of it's been done, frankly, through portfolio companies and strategic equity investments, and so you'll see that deployment. But it's...
Take notice, she said it's going to accelerate now. And this is also what we've been waiting for, because I think a lot of these banks are going to get involved with Ripple for custody. They're also going to be getting involved with Ripple for cross-border payments, most likely utilizing XRP for on-demand liquidity as well. But they're telling you this is going to happen. And this is a great clip coming from Sandy Cole, the head of digital asset innovation at Franklin Templeton. She'll also be at Ripple Swell 2025. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, so I have to say this to myself every day too. So this is advice I give myself, Jay, is stay calm, stay patient, right? As we've just discussed, the setup for what is coming is powerful. It's so powerful that if you wait until it's happening, you're going to be chasing returns that you are probably perfectly positioned to get today, right? So just be patient. The other thing I always try and remind myself is, even with all the excitement that has built over the past 18 months with crypto and the markets being at record highs in many cases, we've only seen the amount of money in the crypto markets increase from 3 to 4 trillion, right? There is $100 trillion of money invested in the broader set of assets that are today not on crypto rails. Again, just think if 10% of that money moves into crypto and token-based investments, we are increasing the size of the crypto markets by 2.5x, 2.5x, right? So be patient, because the wall of money is going to come, and you do not want to have liquidated and stepped aside before that wall of money hits.
What she's telling you is don't sell until the wall of money gets here. And she said only 10% gives us a 2.5x. Most likely, 50 trillion of that $100 trillion is going to enter this space sooner than people think. But everybody is in such a hurry to sell. It's like the retail mindset. You got to think like the institutions. Every time the price of something goes up, the institutions aren't like, well, I'm going to sell now because I think it's going to come back down. No, they stay positioned because they know what's coming. You all know what's coming. Why the hell would you ever sell too soon? And Cardano founder Charles Hoskinson said certain competitors who could have won misstepped seriously, saying Ripple's smart contract capabilities threatened early ETH DeFi. In the case of Ripple, they just abandoned smart contracts, and it opened a window for ETH. And what he didn't mention is why Ripple got rid of smart contracts or didn't go down the road of smart contracts. Take a listen to David Schwartz here.
That didn't work out. I mean, can you imagine the great things Vitalik could have accomplished at Ripple? No, but seriously, though, Vitalik had some great ideas about smart contracts on layer one. And at one point, he stayed on Stefan's couch, our CTO at the time, and he shared his ideas. And we were obviously very, very impressed that, he had a clear vision, not that far ahead of its time, as it turned out. And he actually, Stefan, Thomas, myself, Arthur Brito at times, and Vitalik talked about like bringing layer one smart contracts to our design. And interestingly enough, there were a variety of reasons why we didn't grab onto that idea back then. I guess you could argue we're a little late to the party talking about that now. But I think, it would have been, it's an interesting counterfactual to imagine if Vitalik had persuaded Stefan, Arthur, and I to build smart contracts into layer one on the XRP ledger in the early days. But I think what we were concerned with is that it would, and you can see this with Ethereum, that it causes the transaction fees to go up and it reduces the transactions per second, and it does have costs. And obviously you can argue about, obviously it has benefits as well.
It would have made transactions more expensive and slower. That's what it comes down to. Ripple was all about cross-border payments and that derivatives market. So if they would have had smart contracts, other networks would have definitely jumped ahead because they would have been faster and cheaper. But now they have the EVM sidechain. The sidechain makes it possible to use Ethereum-based smart contracts on the XRP ledger without affecting the main network performance. It doesn't make XRP more expensive or slower in any way. So it was actually a good thing that Ripple waited for the EVM sidechain instead of going with smart contracts early on. And Rep. French Hill says blockchain isn't disruptive tech. It's the natural next step. But I like what he says here about VHS and streaming. Take a listen.
I've been driven by this, not by Bitcoin or the white paper, but actually by writing applications on a blockchain to lower agency costs, increase accuracy, reduce fraud, make an analog system even more effective, decentralize decision-making in a programmable aspect of it. I'm just eating up with up. I think that's the future. And so that's not, it's innovative. I wouldn't call it disruptive. It's like next step. You're going from VHS to streaming.
You're going from VHS to streaming. And take notice, he said he wasn't driven by Bitcoin or the white paper. He's driven by the better technology that's out there. And it's not so much disruptive to everything. It's disruptive to the banks because they lose out on a lot of fees. What does crypto do? It cuts out the middleman. It also makes everything fully transparent, so there's no more cooking the books at the bank. That's why they call it disruptive. But it is the next step forward. Innovation does not slow down. It only moves ahead. Same thing with technology. It just continues to advance. It's the same reason that every year a new iPhone comes out. It's the same reason that a computer you bought last year is outdated this year. It's just how technology is. But as technology continues to advance and innovation continues to push ahead, we are now getting a level playing field because everybody's looking past Bitcoin. It wasn't a level playing field before. Bitcoin always had the advantage over the altcoins. But because innovation can't slow down and technology can't slow down, we're getting a level playing field, which now everybody's looking beyond Bitcoin. And that's a good thing for XRP holders and altcoin investors as a whole. This comes from Jake Claver. Too many people in crypto are flying blind. Even with XRP at $100, it won't mean much if you don't have a plan. Know your numbers and write everything down now before your emotions take the wheel. Financial freedom doesn't come from hoping. It comes from having a plan when the momentum finally shows up. What have I been telling you this entire time? Put a plan together and stick to that plan. Because if you don't, you are going to sell based on what other people are telling you. You're going to be selling way too soon. Look at how everything is aligning right now. This is that moment that we've been waiting for years, and it's finally starting to show up. And this also comes from Jake Claver, because I talk about borrowing against your crypto all the time. Take a listen to what he says about taxes.
So it's a couple different ways that you could structure this. If you're worth $100 million, PPLI is definitely a vehicle that you probably would want to know about. And you would want to structure a policy that you could be able to borrow against. Now, It takes some time. Most of those need to be a 5-pay or a 10-pay, which means you pay that over a period of time. Then you're able to, borrow against the cash value in that policy as the assets appreciate. You could borrow against those assets inside the LLC and draw down a line of credit against them. And then as they appreciate, you just refinance the loan with the same assets, and you might buy an annuity that would make the interest payments for you so that you don't have to worry about that, and you could live off the rest, or use it to fund your lifestyle or buy a business. You do whatever you want to do with the money because it's tax-free, since debt is not income. You do need to service the debt though, so again, it's interest only on most of these notes with the balloon payment at the end for the total. So hopefully maybe you're going to buy an asset with it that doubles in value over 12 months or over the term of the note.
Now, you don't need to have $100 million, like he said at the beginning of that video clip, but you should have an LLC. And he is right, debt is not income. So if you borrow against your crypto, instead of cashing it out and going and blowing all the money, if you borrow against it, it's not a taxable event. And it allows you to continue to hold your crypto at the same time. And it's almost like winning the lottery. You have two choices when you win the lottery. You could take the lump sum of cash, or you could take payments over time. And that's what it comes down to. That's the moment we are at with crypto. You could either cash out in this cycle and take a decent size bag of cash with you, or you continue to hold your crypto, borrow against it, and pay back the loan, maybe off of passive income that you're getting over time. But the first route, if you do take the big bag of cash, make sure you pay the taxes. So many people in crypto always try to say, well, I'm not paying the taxes when I cash out. All the exchanges are going to be telling the IRS you just cashed out all that crypto. You'll end up getting a letter from the IRS. But if you borrow against it, there's no taxable event, and you can pay it back over time without selling any of your crypto. I hope I simplified that for all of you. And I definitely would start looking in to becoming an LLC. Create a business around your crypto holdings, because there's a lot of write-offs that you could take as an LLC that you cannot take as yourself. Once you become a business, you could write off just about anything. You could go buy a car and write the car off. You could also, if you don't want to write the car off at 100%, you could do it over time as you're racking up miles on the vehicle. There's other things that you could buy as well. Start a home business, buy office furniture. The list goes on and on. But I would definitely look into getting that LLC. I suggest every single crypto holder to do that. And don't go through these online things, because a lot of times they're not registering your LLC. So it's not even a legal business. Talk to a lawyer in your area and ask them how you go about becoming an LLC, because usually they will handle everything for you. You just pay them and you walk away as a small business. A lot of people are about to make a lot of money in crypto. Make sure you have a game plan. And until it happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.